Here are a couple of key questions to start us off that might help you to relate to this video series. First off, do you enjoy having thoughts and opinions of your own, rights and freedoms? Are you looking into your future with new concerns related to your rights and freedoms? Do you feel that options for future health, well-being, life goals and successes are being influenced in such a way that makes you concerned for yourself or others? Have you ever been accused of committing an offense or a crime that you feel certain deep down inside that you're not guilty? Are you worried about being asked or forced to do something that you feel goes against your historic rights and freedoms? Are you concerned that neighbors or government agents may accuse you of committing crimes that you don't agree with or understand? Or perhaps are you right now dealing with an accusation of a crime and looking for assistance toward how to defend yourself? And lastly, do you think it's important to teach yourself and our youth important information related to how to protect yourself with historic rights and freedoms? If you answered yes to one or more of those questions, welcome to Sovereign Sanity, a source for sovereign clarity and growth. As we review the history of sovereignty, we would find that the original sovereign individuals didn't have or require a name. It's safe to say that would have been among one of the first developmental decisions for the first human sovereigns, especially as they started crossing paths with other human beings, would be to give themselves a reference or a title. In the beginning, that probably started as a gesture or a sound, and eventually, as languages were formulated, so then formed the family name. So sticking with the tradition of the original sovereign individual and naming oneself, I'm quite the fan of the monkey character from the movie The Lion King, Rafiki, because the question really is, who are you? Now, before the year 2020, I never thought or intended on making a video series on this subject. However, as we review history, there appears to be certain times and places where the topic of human rights and freedoms would do well to rise to the surface of our awareness. Here's what will be reviewed as part of the Sovereign Sanity video series. First of all, we'll take a look at something called the cycle of sovereignty. We'll review how the definition of sovereignty appears to have changed over time from the original sovereign individual to what's now known as sovereign governments. We'll review how rights and freedoms were formed and important subjects such as how authority was established and the requirement for consent. Moving forward, we'll take a look at how the sovereign voice still exists today. We'll quickly review the development of law, how jurisdictions were established, and the rule books for laws and legalities. We'll show you how your sovereign voice can be used as a lawful shield, in particular against unjust claims toward you or those that you care about. Moving forward, we'll review modern laws versus historic sovereignty. We'll be using a video from a modern lawyer who did research on the subject and doing a cross-examination from a sovereign perspective. We'll also be using videos that highlight interactions with the justice system and law enforcement. And we'll be helping you to see the words, the actions, and the thought processes that are taking place from a sovereign perspective during those interactions. Next, we'll take a look at using a sovereign voice, both in life and in court. So what does it mean to use your sovereign voice throughout your life? Well, I'll be sharing with you some practical, real-life examples of my experience living as a sovereign from as far back as I can recall thinking for myself, and in particular, from the time I started filing notices. And speaking of filing notices, we'll show you how you can use your sovereign voice in court and within the justice system. How, why, and when to use your voice, and of course, the importance of filing notices. And lastly, we'll review thoughts and ideas towards solutions for government and individual sovereignty success moving into the future. Now, a couple of final notes before we move forward. First of all, it's important that you watch this series starting right here at the first video, because similar to reading a book, should you skip a chapter, you're likely to miss important information that would help you to understand the book or series as a whole. Next, it's really important that you share these videos and this information directly because in the end, it boils down to mass majority knowledge that's key toward protecting our historic rights and freedoms. Lastly, comments are highly suggested. If you feel you have something to add, or if you just have questions, I'll either answer your questions directly or they'll be answered in upcoming videos. Now, let's get connected, put our thinking caps on, and let's get started.